How is your country different from mine? I tried not to show my disbelief. Could Kwesi be serious? Images of American culture seemed to be everywhere, and they could not have escaped him. He was earnest. What things about your country are different? Our hired car was traveling along a dirt road. As I looked out the window, everything I saw was different. The dirt road, the villages, and the people walking along the road. Everywhere we had traveled in Ghana, we saw people walking, singly and in small groups, covering the long distances between towns on foot, often barefoot. The women carried bundles on their heads, unbelievably large bundles. We saw children, too, some carrying pans of water, expertly balanced, and men carrying everything imaginable. Even the bicycles were loaded with bundles. Kwesi was riding with us back to Kumasi from Bonwiri, the weaving village where he sold kente cloth. He came from many generations of kente weavers, and his father still made the tightly woven strips which are sewn together to make the traditional cloaks worn by the Ashanti tribal kings and queens for hundreds of years. Kwesi wanted a ride to Kumasi to check his email at an internet cafe. Earlier he had rescued us from the onslaught of hawkers and peddlers in Bonwiri. An hour before, when our taxi had pulled into the dusty village square, we were the only tourists, and so were open season for the many vendors who had not sold anything that day. Around the square the handful of one-room shanties were draped with kente cloth and with kente tote bags, shirts, ties, and other kente souvenirs. All the shopkeepers begged us to enter their shops. Small boys ran up to us, trying to pull us into one shop or another. We had quickly taken refuge in the nearest one. With a tin roof and no windows, the shop was stifling hot, but we lingered, not wanting to go outside again to face another onslaught. Eventually we purchased a few small items and walked outside to the end of the square, where we saw a teenage boy working on a tall, thin loom. A throng of boys and men crowded around, clamoring and pulling at us. It was then that a young man, Kwesi, gently led us away from the crowd to his own shop. There he pulled folded kente from his shelves and spread it out for us to view. Sewn together, the strips, with their seemingly random stripes and patterns, produced a kind of plaid. The plaids, he told us, represented different tribes in the Ashanti kingdom. Only men were weavers. We admired many pieces and chose something to buy. When we completed our purchase, we asked Kwesi for directions to the nearby woodcarving village. He offered to come with us, if we didn't mind, and would show our driver the route. And so we found ourselves talking in the cramped taxi along the road from Bonwiri to the next village. I pondered how to answer his question. How was the U.S. different from Ghana? I did not want my answer to offend him, yet he must know the differences were vast. TVs in Kumasi's restaurants and bars broadcast American sitcoms and CNN. He must have seen the kitchens filled with appliances, and the politicians getting into fancy cars, and the movie stars with grand houses. What could I say? That in the U.S. people don't live in thatched roof huts? Or that everyone has running water and electricity? No. Could I say that people did not cook outdoors on wood fires, or do their shopping at the side of the road? No, that wouldn't do. Maybe that in the U.S. people were overweight or lived far from their families, or they were offered 12 years of free school but dropped out. No. I looked out the window again at the file of people walking along the road. I turned and said, "In the U.S., people don't carry things on their heads." He said to me in disbelief, "They don't? Then how do they carry things in your country?"